go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Lawn Conversion 101 webinar. My name is Michaela Kamelamela, and I am a sustainability specialist at the City of Menlo Park, and I will be moderating this webinar today. Some things to note during today's Zoom webinar. All attendees are going to be muted by default. Our instructor will pause periodically for questions, and you are encouraged to ask any questions you have. So 2 ways to ask. You can raise your hand by pressing that little button at the bottom, and I will unmute you and you can ask your question. Or another way is you can type your question in the chat with that bottom below, and I will read the question for our instructor. This webinar is being recorded today, and it will be made available in the weeks coming after this webinar is concluded. So BOSCA represents 26 agencies that include cities, water districts, a water company, and a university that purchase water wholesale from the San Francisco Regional Water System. BOSCA stands for Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency. So BOSCA member agencies provide water to about 1.8 million people and over 40,000 businesses and community organizations in Alameda, Santa Clara, and San Mateo counties. BOSCA's goal is to provide high-quality supply of water at a fair price. The purpose of this webinar today is to encourage Bay Area residents to decrease outdoor water use, particularly through reducing the need for large amounts of water through irrigating grass. So outdoor water use represents the single largest untapped opportunity for water conservation in the BOSCA service area. Outdoor water use reduction through the use of water-efficient plants and innovative techniques can help conserve water and ensure that the future water supply needs of our communities are met. So the most popular rebate that BOSCA offers is the Lawn Be Gone rebate, which can vary from each member agency as to how much they offer, but the City of Menlo Park offers its water customers $3 per square foot for converting grass lawn to drought-tolerant plants. Another rebate that BOSCA member agencies offer is up to $200 for the purchase of a rain barrel. So you can visit the bayareagardening.org webpage to learn more about garden transformations around the Bay Area. It also provides resources to support residents in water-efficient landscape renovations and management, and also has a gallery of gardens with plants identified. You can use a plant selection tool, and it also has a guide to watering a water-efficient landscape. Some additional rebates that BOSCA offers is a discounted rate for the purchase of a Rakio Smart Controller irrigation system, which allows you to manage irrigation from your smartphone, as well as create tailored watering schedules and make automatic weather adjustments. And there's also the option to add a rain garden to your Lawn Be Gone project, and you will receive an additional $300 for that. So you can learn more about all of these programs at bayareaconservation.org. So the City of Menlo Park offers its water customers the following rebates. We do offer the Lawn Be Gone rebate at $3 per square foot, like I mentioned. So this is for grass lawn converted to drought-tolerant plants, plus the additional $300 for the rain garden. We also offer the rain barrel rebate, the Rakio Smart Controller, like I mentioned, as well as the irrigation hardware rebate. So that's $5, $10, or $30 for the installation of efficient irrigation hardware. And you can also reach out to us to receive free water saving fixtures. So bathroom and kitchen sink aerators, low flow shower heads, and leak detection tablets. To learn more about the City of Menlo Park conservation rebates, if you're a Menlo Park municipal water customer, you can go to menlopark.gov/water conservation. And if you are a Santa Clara County resident, many of these same rebates are available to you through Valley Water, including the lawn replacement rebate. So you can visit the links listed here on the right to learn more about those specific rebates. And you should be able to apply for multiple rebates on the same application through Valley Water's online platform. So for additional tips and resources, you can go to southbaygreengardens.org. You can also go to watersavings.org to watch some more informational videos. And if you're a Santa Clara County resident, you can contact WaterWise at valleywater.org to report water waste. So here are some additional upcoming webinars that you can register for at bayareaconservation.org. So first will be the rainwater harvesting webinar, and that's going to be online November 8th, 6:30 p.m. And then we have the water conservation rebates and water saving tips workshop. This one will be in person November 9th, 7 p.m. in Millbrae. And for the specific address, again, you can go to bayareaconservation.org. And then the rest of these webinars are going to be online. And the one that the City of Menlo Park will be hosting will be the last one listed there. So Garden Talk, rain gardens. We're going to be discussing how to install rain gardens and giving more information on that. And if you'd like to take a look at previously recorded landscape webinars similar to this one, you can go to that link listed below. So bosca.org/conserve/landscaping/videos. Not the shortest link, but it will take you where you're looking to go. Okay. So now I'd like to welcome Frank Niccoli, who will be our presenter for today, and I will let him take over from here.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I need to share screen, please. Kayla, are you there?
Yes. Can you try again?
Let's see. Yep, I got it. Thank you.
Good.
Okay. So when we talk about plant material, we are talking about inputs versus outputs. In sustainability, it's all about the inputs. So when we talk about the inputs about regarding plant material, there's precipitation, there's nutrients in both rain and dust, nitrates that you would apply, atmospheric carbon dioxide. Those are some of the inputs. And
Frank,
yeah.
so sorry. I think you might be sharing the wrong screen. It's on the. We're looking at the presenter view.
Oh, all right. Let's see what we've got here.
There you go.
All right, there we go. Does that work?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So when we talk about these inputs, we are talking about Let me move this over. I'm on two screens, so I need to move this over. There we go. Swap displays. That's what I needed. Are you still seeing inputs?
Yeah, we can see the presenter view again.
Again. There's always something with these things.
There
How
you
about
go.
Okay. So inputs. We've talked about those. Outputs based on the type of crop that you have. In a grassland or forest or a structurally complex ecosystem, there is a significant amount of carbon accumulation in both vegetation and the soil, very little surface runoff. There's a large proportion of water that is evaporated to the atmosphere, which is a good thing, and a lot of the water is sequestered. This particular kind of an ecosystem also provides a home for many species of plants, animals, and microbes. It cleans water to the streams. It reduces global warming by net removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. There's no impact on the municipal landfill. There's no impact on fossil fuel supplies. So a system like this will store an average of 17 pounds per square meter of carbon, and its plant material will additionally store 6.61 pounds. This, on the other hand, is a dead system. A lawn has a 25-to-1 net negative impact on the environment, period. It needs fossil fuel. You got to cut it. You got to fertilize it. It needs a large amount of water. So this is a loser in a big way. Turf versus lawn. Well, we're seeing a baseball field here, a turf versus lawn. A turf in the baseball field is a relatively, it's a monocrop. There's one crop there. Lawn, on the other hand, can have multiple crops. When we talk about cropping systems, we talk about sustainability. A sustainable lawn needs to be built around a species with a specific set of characteristics. And these characteristics in this turf must have the ability to persist over time. Sustainable lawns should maintain adequate densities with modest inputs of water and fertilizer. As you can see from this particular slide, it's not going to happen. Sustainable lawns need to be built around a species that will survive significant drought stress. This particular piece of turf has a lot of dropout, uniformity is poor. It's not surviving significant drought stress. Should not have problems with insects or diseases. And a sustainable lawn should produce manageable amounts of thatch. So turf that is spreading by stolons or rhizomes produce a significant amount of thatch that goes to the landfill. A sustainable lawn should be built around species that blend well with other grasses and dicot plants. One of the most high water use and high fertilizer use is perennial rye. One of the most drought tolerant and low fertilized types of lawn is perennial rye. If you take perennial rye and you add drought tolerant plants and don't fertilize it, and minimize the water use, perennial rye will work. And many people will say, well, I want my lawn to be all grass. And yet, when they did a survey of lawns at Oregon State, they found 83 to 139 plant species of dicots were found in this survey. There was a mix of drought tolerant plants in and amongst the turf. So one of the plants that they found in this perennial rye mix and is very drought tolerant is Bellis perennis. It's very drought tolerant. It goes dormant in prolonged dry periods. And wild varieties are much hardier than the domesticated variety. Another one that they found was Achillea millifolum. There are numerous colors of this particular plant. This is a adequate lawn substitute. It is drought tolerant. You can get different colors. There's paprika, which is orange red, calistoga white, cerise queen, vivid pink, island pink, pink, red, white, fire king, which is red, and then there's a lilac, which is lavender. This spreads by rhizomes. It will stay green under prolonged drought. It's Spanish for little feather, and it is a very tough plant. This is another one, very drought tolerant. This is Trifolium fragiferum. The flowering period on this is somewhat short, but this plant blends very well with grass. This is Trifolium repens, very drought tolerant. A lot of our varieties. There is a variety called Pipolina, which is lower growing than the common varieties. It's an easy plant to grow. It is also a nitrogen fixture. This particular plant is the most drought tolerant of all the dicots that would mix with grasses. It's very compatible. It spreads by rhizomes. It produces yellow flowers in the spring. And this particular plant was used by our ancestors as a flea repellent because it smells like new mown hay. And for some reason, the fleas didn't like it, and it was used to stuff mattresses. Prunella vulgaris, this is self-heal. It's very drought tolerant. It forms these dense, tight patches, produces purple flowers at mowing height, which is important. It's edible, and it is a nitrogen fixer. It is in the Laminaceae family. If you have perennial rye and you're in a wet or shade tolerant area, you can add other plants that will work in that. Glaucoma. This one is will handle shade very well. The foliage is somewhat coarse, but the plant blends really well with the turf. It is a medicinal plant. It was used as a preservative. It's used as in beer making as a flavoring. This is Ranunculus repens. All ranunculus are poisonous, but this is an excellent plant to mix with turf. Yellow flowers in the spring at mowing height, and the plant is, as you can see, works really well with turf. Veronica filiformis, plant in wet areas or in shady areas. It stays low growing at all times. Beautiful blue flowers in the spring. It's a great plant. So in terms of some broader applications, you can use this particular plant. This is a chamomile, Anthemus nobilis. It means earth apple because of the apple-like scent of this plant. Oxalis behaves like a herbaceous perennial. It will die back if we get a cold winter. It mixes really well with grass, yellow or white flowers at mowing height. It does very well in deep shade under trees, and especially with limited root zones like under redwoods. Any questions out there, Michaelia?
No, not so far.
That's good news. Sustainable lawns need to blend well with other grasses and dicot plants. They need to have the ability to persist over time. They need to maintain adequate densities with modest amounts of water and fertilizer. They need to survive significant drought stress, and they need to produce manageable amounts of thatch. If your lawn doesn't do this, it's time to rethink it. I've read the Constitution, and having a lawn is not in the Constitution. People want lawns for some reason. Lawns are high maintenance. They use a lot of water. They need lots of fertilizer. They need pesticides. They need herbicides. They need frequent mowing. They are expensive, and they are disappointing. When we talk about lawns, we know that many people have this love affair with a lawn, and they don't they say they want a low maintenance landscape. Well, this is a low maintenance landscape. There's no such thing. There are lower maintenance landscape. A low maintenance landscape means that you need about 4 to 6 hours a month from a trained gardener to manage this. And I'm not talking about an untrained gardener. I'm talking with a fine gardener who knows how to handle a low maintenance landscape. The biggest problem with low maintenance landscapes is that once they are installed, they bring in a hack that doesn't know the plant material, and in 3 years, the landscape is dead. This is a high maintenance landscape. This happens to be Bouchard Gardens. They have 85 full-time gardeners in spring and summer. And most people don't want a high, well, they think they want this kind of a landscape, but they don't want to pay 85 gardeners to manage it. There are some misconceptions when it comes to lawn. Kids do not need a lawn. As a landscape contractor, I had clients who were saying, I need a lawn for my kids. Kids don't need a lawn. They like soil. They're curious. They like touching and exploring and getting dirty. Why have them play on a lawn that you're using chemicals on that are carcinogenic? This is what a kid on a lawn looks like. It's disappointing. It's boring. So we need to get rid of this lawn and create a low maintenance garden for these kids. This is what kids want. They want a favorite place where they're not under our noses. They want to be able to see but not be seen. They want to touch and smell flowers. They want this. And just because you remove your lawn doesn't mean that you are the weird one on the block. It's just not that extreme. Mature landscapes are worth more when you're selling a home. Anybody know whose landscape this is? See that apple? That's a clue. This is Steve Jobs' house. You see a lawn there? He was one of the smartest people I've ever met. Not because he got rid of his lawn, but because he was very smart. So much for theory. Let's talk about the facts and nothing but the facts. When we talk about landscaping, we talk about typical versus sustainable. And when we talk about the criteria for those, we are talking water usage, pests, and diseases. So the typical versus sustainable lawn has definitions and characteristics. It has a landscape design. Pests and diseases are a consideration. Water use is a definite consideration. A typical lawn is defined as plants that are customary or popular to include in the landscape. They are usually high maintenance. They are high water use. They need optimum environmental conditions. They need perfect drainage. They need to be fertilized. They're more susceptible to insects and diseases, and they're usually non-native. Think of the big box stores in the area, and that's where you're going to find these typical types of plants in a landscape. This is a list of the typical plant list that you're going to find at big box: ajuga, agapanthus, choiceas, aucuba, pits, annuals, turf. On the sustainable side, we find that sustainable plants are plants that are native. They're lower maintenance, and I said lower maintenance, not no maintenance. That's a misnomer. It's a misconception. There's no such thing. They have lower water use. They're more sustainable. They're less susceptible to insects and diseases. So I want you to look at this list again and ask yourself, how many of these plants do you know? And then I'm going to show you the sustainable plant list, and I want you to ask yourself, how many of these plants do you know? Do you know more on the first list or the second list? Most of these are California natives, with a few exceptions. Cistus, for example, is not a native. Lavender is not a native. Most of the others are natives. When we do a pest comparison between the typical landscape and the sustainable plant landscape, we find that the typical landscape has a total of 13 plants in the plant list. 11 out of the 13 were susceptible to pests. 10 out of the 13 were susceptible to disease. 13 pests and 6 diseases were identified for annuals. 10 pests and 14 diseases were identified for turf. So if I'm big box and I'm selling you the typical kinds of plants, I'm also selling you the stuff that you need to maintain it. This is a great business plan. I sell you the plants, and then I sell you the stuff after market so that you can get the plants to work. On the sustainable side, there were a total of 20 plants. 5 out of the 20 were susceptible to plants. 5 out of the 20 were susceptible to disease. 14 out of the 20 were resistant to both pests and diseases. Which one do you want? When we look at growth conditions, the typical did not have low maintenance, low water, drought tolerance, or was easy to grow. The sustainable side, 18 out of the 20 had low maintenance, low water, they were drought tolerant, and they were easy to grow.
We do have,
Go ahead.
sorry, we do have 2 questions.
Sure.
The first one is, could I use geranium rock sand?
As long as you don't water it or water it at a minimum, yes, you can.
Okay, and the next question is, are carpet roses a possibility?
Carpet roses are a possibility as long as you limit the amount of fertilizer and, again, water. And be careful how you prune them. Learn how to prune a rose properly. So what I am showing you is not theory. It's real. In Santa Monica, they installed both of these gardens, and they did an evaluation on both of them. So here is the construction costs. On the sustainable garden, it was $11.06 a square foot to install. On the typical garden, it was $7.50. They did put an infiltration pit to catch the water off of the roof. And that cost $3,900, which kicked up the cost of that garden. And they put in permeable paving so that the water would go into the aquifer and not into the gutter. Now I'm going to show you some pictures of the typical garden and the sustainable garden. And we as human beings love beautiful landscapes. And so if you feel like you want to express yourself emotionally when I show you these pictures, feel free. You ready? Ooh. Was that the reaction I got from everybody? This is the typical garden in Santa Monica that they installed. It's actually a substation police substation. And here's the facts about this garden. Ooh, I'm gonna last chance to ooh, because I'm going to the next slide. This garden uses 57,000 gallons a year. It produced 670 pounds of yard waste, and it takes 80 hours of maintenance to manage this. Ooh. Now I'm going to show you the sustainable garden. Ooh, that's got some interest. It's right next door to the typical garden. And if this doesn't catch your interest, this might. 6,000 gallons of water compared to 87,000 gallons of water. 250 pounds of yard waste, 15 hours of maintenance. That is amazing. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you these once again, because I want you to see the difference. Oh, 57,000 gallons, 670 pounds of yard waste, 80 hours of maintenance. This is sustainable garden. Less water, less yard waste, less maintenance. And if that doesn't get to you, how about if I show you the money? You could save $2,088 a year by installing a sustainable garden. That would pay for a nice little vacation, wouldn't it? And this water is at a nickel a gallon, and it's about 2,100 square feet of garden. So how do we reduce a lawn? Some people don't want to take out their lawn. They want to reduce it. So let's have a look at this area and compare the two. The top is before, the bottom is after. Same landscape. Which one do you want? I mean, I think that top one is gorgeous, isn't it? I love all that dry turf that they're overwatering, by the way. How about reducing your lawn and just putting in a plant island? Cut out about half of it and put in some beautiful plants instead of the lawn. So there's some nice ceanothus in here. There's some rosemary. I see some beautiful rock work, some westringias. So instead of removing the lawn, remove a part of the lawn. These are all drought-tolerant plants. Here's another shot at it. So this is a drawing of a home that we did a while back. It had lawn all the way up to these steps. And the homeowner wanted more of a living space, so we did this drawing for them. And this is what it looked like when we installed. We removed a significant portion of that lawn and gave them a living space. They couldn't convince them to get it all out of there, but we convinced them to get a part of it out of there. So how do I get rid of lawn? What's the series of steps that I need to do to get rid of this stuff? Well, I can sheet mulch it. And what these people are doing is they're laying down cardboard on top of the existing turf. And by the way, if you are applying for rebate, make sure you get your rebate provider out there before you do this, so they can document the fact that you do have lawn. How expensive is this? Well, the cardboard is free. You can go dumpster diving at bike shops and at REI. REI gets most of their deliveries for the weekend on Wednesdays and Thursdays. You go into the store, tell the manager that you'd like to dumpster dive his cardboard. They'll say yes. You haul all kinds of cardboard to your house, and you get your friends to help you lay this cardboard down. She's wetting the cardboard down so it doesn't go away. And then you go to chipdrop.com and you ask for free chip. A tree company guy shows up, he dumps it where you want it, and so far it's cost you zero. This is sheet mulching. The best time to do sheet mulching, and it really depends on the type of turf that you have, is in summer, with the idea that the landscape is going to be sheet mulched for 2 to 3 months so that the turf is smothered, and then you're going to do fall planting. Don't remove the turf. Let the soil organisms eat it, because they will. What you're doing here is building soil. Turf is bacterial in nature. You're going to go from a bacterial in nature environment to perennial types of plants, which is fungal. Your soil is dead from the turf. And so by adding the cardboard and the mulch, you are providing food for the soil organisms. They'll eat this cardboard, especially the earthworms, and the soil will begin to build because the fungi will attack the mulch, and you'll start to build good soil and good soil structure. Free. If in fact you want to do this all on the same day, you can, depending on the kind of turf that you have. You will have some regrowth of your turf coming back, but it's doable. I'll tell you a story about a friend of mine who lives in Sunnyvale, and she lives on one of those streets where you enter one way and you come out the other way. There were 28 houses on this street in Sunnyvale, and Donna asked me to come by and help her redo the irrigation system. And when I showed up, she had a lawn in front, and I began modifying the irrigation system to a drip system. And her and 3 of her neighbors began to sheet mulch. At around 11:30, we all had lunch, courtesy of Donna. By 2:30, we had sheet mulched the entire property in front, and we had installed a drip system, and then we installed a vegetable garden. She put in fruit trees, zucchini, basil, herbs, tomatoes. So 8 in the morning, she had lawn. 2:30 in the afternoon, she had a vegetable garden. The 3 people that were with us went to their house, and they did their homes in the same way. Once they learned how to do the irrigation and everything else, they worked together to do 3 more homes on that property. So now they had a total of 4. At the end, they had 21 people on that roundabout street that converted their landscape to vegetable gardens. They formed a co-op, and they shared vegetables. One home would grow tomatoes, another would grow greens. They didn't even have to go to Whole Foods anymore to get good, sustainable, organic vegetables. 21 out of the 28 houses on that roundabout did that, and they're still doing it. It was an amazing transformation. You can't eat lawn, so why have it? So when you're doing sheet mulching, you need to understand that you are changing the grade. And so the new grade, and that's what we did at Donna's house, is the mulch, and then we put some compost down, and then of course the old turf is down in here. So we planted right through it, maintained the new grade, and the plants did fantastic. We also installed a drip system. This is a Netafim drip system. It's Netafim. This is the best drip system out there. Do not use emitters. That is old technology. Netafim is the best. And if you go to the Netafim website, they talk about the types to use. Always use 17 mil Netafim because it will not clog. They have 12 mil, it clogs. 17 mil does not clog. If in fact you have Bermuda grass, and Bermuda grass looks like it has these helicopter seed heads, you need to add 2 layers of cardboard and more mulch. So the average amount of mulch that you're using on a site is around 6 inches on top to smother this turf. And people always ask me, well, what about the curb line? Well, just dig a little trench there so that the mulch falls into that trench and you won't have it coming over onto your sidewalk. So 6 inches. If you want to add compost, that's what this layer is. Add 1 inch of compost, 6 inches of mulch, and then plant. Netafim, great way to irrigate plants. My entire house is all on Netafim, the whole thing. So if you do have Bermuda grass, double the cardboard, you have to do a double dumpster dive. So this is what Bermuda grass looks like. It has a helicopter-like seed head. So I'm going to show you some pictures of what it is like to manage from turf to a ornamental landscape that is drought tolerant and low maintenance. And this is a friend of mine. She's the owner of Blue Mission. And this area in which she is working was all turf. And she laid down cardboard, and she's planting through the turf areas. She brought in boulders, new kinds of plants, so that the area showed much better. She brought in rocks, plants. Granted, she's a professional landscape designer, and she does have her contractor's license. She knows plant material. She knows how to do it. She knows what to do. She knows the types of plants that are going to work in this environment. This is another shot of that same garden. This was turf before. This is the area that she sheet mulched 3 months before. She's laying out the plant material. She put in a sidewalk, planting it. There's a drip system that's under there. Significantly less water, significantly more pretty. There's another job that she did. Obviously didn't bring in those big boulders. They were part of it, but this was all lawn. And she removed it, got it all out of there, sheet mulched it, and then replanted it. This is the end result. This is much more attractive than that lawn. Significant water savings. Another shot coming down the stairs into that landscape. So they talk about rain gardens for a bit and how to do them. So rain gardens have been around for a while, and we treat rainwater as wastewater by design. We attach our downspouts to pipes. We dump it into the street. So we're losing all of that water. There's a better way to do a rain garden. And this is it. Put your plants in a swale. Allow the water to run into that swale. Many cities will allow you to cut the curb. Cut the curb and allow the water to come into that hell strip. Plant some plants in that hell strip and let the rainwater irrigate it. There's a guy by the name of Brad Lancaster. He's got 2 books on rainwater harvesting. I highly recommend you pick up the first book. The second book is good, but the first book is way better. And get some ideas about how to properly do a rain garden. There are a few people in the area that know how to do that. Make sure that they're qualified. Make sure that they know plant material. Make sure that they understand the concepts of a rain garden, how to do it. And you could do something like this. So this person picked up the downspout that's right here and dropped the water into a swale so that this is all irrigated with rainwater. The plants are tough. They're going to take the dry season with a minimum amount of inputs, including water. This is another rain garden. You can go one step further and you can add rocks and berms. Rocks and berms are relatively cheap. They're heavy, but they are so worth it. If you're doing a front yard, you actually can get the rock providers to bring a machine out and they'll drop the rocks into the holes that you pre-dug so that you will need a minimum amount of grunt work to get these rocks set properly. But you do need to do some design work up front and you need to set the rocks properly to do their job. So they're heavy, they're big. So this is an area that we dug out the lawn, we mounded it up, we just flipped everything upside down and let it compost essentially. And then we planted it. It does have a rain garden in there. You can see the rock where the water is captured and it's watering these plants that are used to being cut off in June, July, August, September, and October. Once the rains begin to come back, these plants swell up with water again and begin to grow. So California natives grow when it rains. The exotic plants that we have in our gardens, including turf, need irrigation when it doesn't rain. California natives are the opposite. This is a garden that was all lawn. And we removed all the lawn, brought in soil, built this rock wall, put in all drought tolerant plants on a drip system, provided them a patio to have their morning coffee. And this is so much more interesting than the lawn that they had previous. Another photograph of an area that had a lawn, removed it by sheet mulching, brought in some interesting plants and planted it. Another shot of that. And don't be afraid to use succulents. Succulents in and amongst rocks are very interesting and they're beautiful. Succulents are inexpensive. There's a number of places that you can get them. There's actually a place up in Washington that will mail you succulents, and their prices are fairly reasonable. We just bought around 100 succulents. And by the way, if you don't know or understand succulents, I am the director of the horticulture program at Foothill College, And we have a succulent class that's starting in January. It's a 4-week class. So look at the schedule. I think it's January or February. It might be February that this class is starting. I think it's February. But look at the schedule and look at some of the classes we offer at Foothill College. If you want to learn more about succulents, and succulents are a great addition to a drought-tolerant landscape, come up to Foothill and learn about them. We'd really like your support.
Hi, Frank. We do have someone raising their hand.
Sure.
Go ahead, Sandra.
I just want to know if you could recommend a drought-tolerant book for this area on plants.
Yeah, if you go to the California Native Plant Society's website, they have a number of books that are really well written. There's one by Bart O'Brien. There's 3 of them, Frost, O'Brien, and Carolyn Bornstein. That's a really good book. There's one by Helen Popper. And Helen Popper is a great book because it takes a month-by-month look at California natives and how to plant them, maintain them. Excellent book. So those are 2 real good books. There's one by Greg Rubin. Greg is down in San Diego, and his book is well written, but the 2 I've given you, Helen Popper's book especially, is specific to this area. She's with California Native Plant Society out of Santa Clara County. So I would definitely go to their website and look it up. Or you can go to Amazon and get Helen Popper's book. It's an excellent book. I use it as a textbook for my classes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome so much. So here's another landscape that has a mix of perennial plants. And notice this plant here. This is intentional. This is a plant that's a nitrogen fixer. We want to put in plants that are synergistic. They help each other. And why add additional nitrogen to this system when you can put in a plant that fixes nitrogen out of the air? So that's the basis for this particular garden. It was a small little lawn area that was struggling. Sheet mulched it, brought in some boulders, some rock work, and put in new plants. Some of these gardens I'm showing you are do-it-yourself. If you don't mind some sweat equity, you can do a lot of these yourself. Get a decent designer to help you with the plant material. Doing stonework is easy. There's tons of YouTube videos on how to do stonework. It's hard work, but look at the result. This is a DIY, do-it-yourself garden. All we did was help with the design, showed them how to do the sheet mulching, and they did the rest. It's another garden with boulders and succulents. Succulents and boulders go together very well. And by the way, if you do buy boulders and they don't have this beautiful mossy looking stuff on it, there's an easy way to do that. You find some moss and scrape it off and put it in a thing of a quart of buttermilk. Shake it up and then pour the buttermilk on the rock. In about 6 months, you'll have a rock that's covered with moss. This is another landscape DIY, same one. So I want to show you a project that a friend of mine did. She owns Blue Mission. I really admire her work. And this was the landscape. The big issue with this particular landscape is you can see this swale on the left side of the house. right in here. There is a ton of water coming through there from the houses that were on the hill above them. And this swale was necessary to move all of that water. And the water is going into the gutter by design. So she brought in boulders. She cleaned up this swale area, left it there, began to set the boulders in a particular fashion so that when the water comes through here, the boulders slow the water down and allow it to percolate into the planter areas. She produced swales in and around the boulders so that the water would roll into the swales and irrigate the plant material. Those hoses that you see there are for a drip system that she'll be installing. She put in low mounds and low points so that the water gets captured. Brought in some drip. Brought in a large tree to set the landscape or set the house down into the landscape. It was just hanging. There's no interest to this at all. Nothing. And the house is just kind of up in the air. And so bringing in a large tree will help set this house into the landscape and integrate it, give it some interest. And this was almost finished. So the tree's in place, the boulder work's been done, some of the plants have been installed. This has way more interest than the previous lawn look, way more interest. When we're talking about real estate values, a properly done landscape will return 106% if it's properly done. A bathroom will only give you 50%. A kitchen will give you 60%. A pool, 35%. A properly done landscape, 106%. And this is verified through Forbes magazine. There's an article in Forbes about a properly done landscape and the return of investment. So you're investing into your property values. If, in fact, you want to sell this house, the property values are going to go up significantly. A few more pictures of how she's doing the work. She's trying to get that water off of that swale into the landscape. And you see this in nature all the time. So you don't see this. You see this. You see where nature has eroded away these boulders to slow down the water. And where is the plant? At the bottom of this swale. So let's look at the works. This is a before. Ooh. Beautiful lawn. Lovely. Way better. What do you think the property values in this particular home did? This happens to be over in Piedmont. This or this. There's some more pictures of it. There's a rain swale in there. It's in and amongst the plant material. Granted, professional contractor. She's also a very good designer. She knows plant material. Well worth every penny that you pay her. Well worth it to have this kind of a garden. What kind of plantings am I talking about? Well, let's look at a few. So these are low water use plants. We'll call them out by name in a bit. This happens to be euphorbia or gopher spurge. It's used often in many landscapes. This is a before.
Frank, someone is asking, what is a swale?
It's just a place where water can run. You dig a trough essentially and allow the water into the swale. So let's show you what I'm talking about. So when she was putting this garden together, the one that was, well, I can show you here. So this depression here is a swale. All of that water is going to go down in here. On a landscape, you're going to do a rain garden, picking up the downspouts, put some rock in there to slow down the water, and it's going to go into the plant material instead of in the gutter. That's what she's done here. She's got a swale in there. All that water she's trying to capture and slow it down. I'm going to show you a picture of this area where she's got that water coming down in here, dropping down into this lower depression area so that the water is being used. Using boulders here, she's got a swale right here. So all it is the depression to capture that water. So there's a rain swale right here. So that water is rolling down that hill and it goes into this depression. And these plants on this shelf are picking all that water up and using it. So that swale is right in here. So we're going to talk about some low water plantings. Let me get back to my slide. This is a before. And this is the same area after. Before and after. There's a rain swale right here. Right below this step down. And then there's another one right here. So the water is slowly moving through. There's another one. The water is coming off of these steps. The stones are slowing it down. And it's going into the carex that's on the right side of it. There's a closer picture of that. Water coming down. Rocks are slowing it down. Drops down into this swale. And the plant material picks up that water and uses it. Another photograph of that. Before. After. Before. After. A lot more interest. A lot more drought tolerant. The mulch itself was free. It was sheet mulched. Here is the before. Looks pretty ugly. And here's the after. And if this wasn't great, we planted a dog too. Got rid of all that turf. So this is a garden, and I'm going to show you the difference between lawn after 1 year. This particular lawn had insect damage. Raccoons were digging it up. The homeowner hated mowing it. It's boring. And this was in 2009 before the drought. And this is a year later. Before. A year later. Same garden. This is 2 years after. Natives, bulbs, let the seeds, the seed heads, drop the seeds for the birds and for the next season. Maintenance on this one was about every few weeks, once a month, instead of weekly cutting that lawn. Same garden. This was kind of a boring, uninteresting kind of a landscape. Installed a rain garden using rock to move the water from the downspouts and allow it to percolate into the soil to go into the aquifer. This is another garden, large piece of turf. Insect damage you're seeing in this area here, where the turf is dropped out. Homeowner is trying to do something up at the base of the house. We came in, began to do some rock work, get some drip systems in there, got all that lawn out of there. 1 year later, remove the lawn, put in a couple of patios, 2-level patios. You see a drain here to capture this water on the upper patio. Gave them a living space. The kids had their bicycles out there. They could now ride around on a patio. They had a nice ramp here. I mean, the kids were young. They enjoyed this much more than they enjoyed the lawn that was there previously. Why not do this? Lawn is useless. Can't eat it. Plant veggies. Plant veggies. Plant sunflowers for the birds, tomatoes, herbs, lettuces. Lawn to veggies is a thing. You can do freedom lawns. And freedom lawns, there's a website, talks about freedom lawns. All they did is they ordered bulbs and they put it in their lawn and quit watering it. This one added wildflowers. Just went out there and sprinkled wildflowers everywhere. Here's some of the wildflowers. This is yarrow, achillea, tomentosa, I think. I'm going to show you some California natives, and I want to highly encourage you to look at the California natives. I hear this all the time. Oh, the California natives are so ugly. Why would I want to put natives in, Frank? The big issue with the California natives is that you need somebody with some type of education to maintain them. You cannot hire a garden janitor at big box to come in and manage your natives. They are a specialized plant, and they are far from ugly. There's Clarkia, stunning plant. Can grow this from seed. It's an annual. Erigeron glaucus. This happens to be Wayne Roderick. Another plant that you can grow from seed. So sun with water under 1 foot. Gilia capitata. Iris. These are the Pacific Coast hybrids, or PCHs. There's 11 different colors in this. And these are fairly drought tolerant. The key with these is don't water them during the summer because it'll rot them out. Lupins, butterflies, and pollinators love this particular plant. This is another one that you can grow from seed. And if you want to seed a house, Larners, Larners. She wrote a book, Judith Larner Lowry, Gardening with a Wild Heart. She also has a seed house. Mimulus guttatus, sticky monkey flower. This one likes a little more water, but it's well worth it if you've got a wet spot in your garden. Cicericium californicum. I'm going to show you this one, and I'm going to show you its cousin in a couple of slides. This is yellow-eyed daisy. I wonder why they call it that. This is the Oregon grape, which happens to be a California native. Not only do you get a beautiful plant, but you get these attractive grapes that the birds like to eat. This is spice bush. It's 6 feet by 6 feet. And when you rub the leaves, many people say, oh, it's got a spicy smell. Other people say it smells like wine that was left out overnight. Others say that it smells like cardboard. But you get these flowers, and this thing is loaded with these flowers. If you got an area that can handle a 6 by 6, this is the plant. Tough plant, drought tolerant, as all get out. Easy to grow. Carpentaria californica, which is the California camellia. These beautiful extended stamens. Western redbud, 4-season interest on this. In the springtime, you get these gorgeous flowers. And by the way, this is a nitrogen fixer. It is in the Fabiaceae family. After the flowers, these wonderful kidney-shaped leaves, and they show up as the weather starts to get warm. You have fall color in oranges and reds. And then in the wintertime, you have these pea pods that rattle in the wind. So this is a 4-season interest plant. It's a small tree, maximum height about 15 feet. Gorgeous plant. Every garden should have this. I have one in my garden. Galvesia speciosum. This is a late bloomer. Starts blooming in July and August. Rhamnus californica. There's some dwarf varieties on this. The species gets about 8 feet. The dwarves get about 4. It's called a coffee berry and produces these wonderful berry-like fruit. This is the golden currant, Ribosarium. Another stunning plant. And this is its cousin, Ribes sanguineum. This one comes in red, white, and these pink. Has these wonderful lobed leaves. Easy to grow. Likes it in the shade. Trichostoma, or woolly blue curls. This is the grump of the landscape. It does not like soil amendments. It does not like water. It does not like fertilizer. It doesn't like much. It likes to be near a boulder. It likes the heat from that boulder. It likes it hot, hot, hot. The hotter, the better. So this is a great plant. It blooms 13 months of the year. It attracts a lot of pollinators, including bees, hummingbirds. They go crazy for this plant. This is a great plant to put in a garden. Lonicera, beautiful flowering. This is sugarbush, rusovata. Beautiful leaves. They fold up like a taco. And you get these wonderful flowers. And then you get fruit. Its cousin, Rus integrifolia, is the lemon sugar bush. The seeds taste like lemon. You can suck on them and you get this lemon flavor. It's really good. Anything Arctostaphylos. You can get one that's low growing, 6 inches tall. You can get one that grows 25 feet tall. Select the plant for the space that you have, and you'll have a winner. This is coyote bush. Beautiful plant, easy to grow, beautiful flowers, nice seeds on this one, easy to care for, great ground cover. The best one out there is Baccharis pilaris, or there's one called Pigeon Point. Outstanding plant. Ceanothus, again, choose the plant size to fit the space that you have. Don't choose a plant that's going to grow 6 by 6 if you've got a 3 by 3, because this one is subject to twig dieback if you prune it. So you don't want to be pruning this thing other than some minor pruning. You want to nibble this like a deer nibbles it. Minor amounts of pruning. Aragonium giganteum, St. Catherine's lace. This one is loaded with pollinators, and it brings in beneficials. Aragonium grande stays about 3 feet, and it will take a sunny area. Penstemon, there's a number of different colors. There's reds, there's whites. There's this color. Great plant, long-lived, 50-year plant. Easy to grow, extremely drought tolerant. Anything salvia. This happens to be Salvia leucophylla. That flower is a verticillaster. Hummingbirds go nuts for anything salvia. So you want to plant salvias like crazy. Here's the blue-eyed grass, Cicerynchium bellum. We saw the yellow-eyed grass earlier, Cicerynchium californicum. Zauschneria californica. I like saying the name Zauschneria. I don't know why, I just do. Dendromicon, 4 to 8 feet tall. You can see a syrphid fly in this one. Easy to grow. Oenothera, little ground cover. Can get taller, but usually stays low. Fried eggplant, Romney culturi, 4 to 8 feet. This is a love it or hate it plant. You better love it, because once you have it, you're going to have it. It will eat up some real estate. Salvia clevelandii, again, anything salvia. Salvia clevelandii, 4 to 8 feet wide by 4 to 8 feet tall. Lots of cultivars of this, tons of cultivars. So pick one that you like. Lovely tree. This is Aesculus californica, 8 feet plus. Stunning flowers right around June, July. And this is obligate dormant in September. So it's going to lose all of its leaves in September, sometimes in August. The hottest part of the year, it just drops all of its leaves. Strawberry tree, Arbutus menziesii, will do in a dry, sunny area. Get about 15 feet tall, produces these beautiful flowers, and it has a lovely fruit on it. It looks like a strawberry. Fremontodendron californicum, it's a wall of yellow. It's 8 feet plus. These are short-lived plants, about 8 years. The wind usually knocks them over. But by then they produced a lot of seedlings. So this is a great plant to put into your garden. This is a showstopper. This is a little tuck-in plant. This is Aquilegia formosa. The bees get really confused on how to get in there, so they cut the spurs off the back end and they enter the flower through the back end to get to the pollen. Dicentra formosa are bleeding hearts. This is another tuck-in plant. It's small, about 18 inches tall. This is Vaccinium ovatum, which is the California huckleberry. And this one will get about 4 feet tall. This one is one of the few that you can hedge, has a reddish stem on it, and then of course this edible fruit. Aristolochia californica. It's a vine. This one can get out of control really quickly, so you better have some space for it. It's especially good on a chain link fence. Heteromeles arbustifolia, which is toyon. Right now, it's loaded with these red berries. It's also called Christmas berry. Prunus ilicifolia and its cousin, Prunus lioni. Ilicifolia has a jagged leaf. Lioni is a softer leaf and not as jagged as ilicifolia. Gets the same kind of flower, very fragrant. Artemisia californica. This is the plant that you smell in the wild when you go hiking. Shooting stars, about 18 inches tall, another tuck-in plant. Mimulus aurantiacus, very drought tolerant. This one works under redwood trees. This is Holodiscus dicolor, and it's 4 to 8 feet. It has a fragrance. Some people say it smells like old newspapers. It's called sea spray because it looks like a sea spray. Lepicinia. This one is called Wallace's pitcher sage. This is your ballerina plant. This is Ribes speciosum. Beautiful ballerina-like flowers. This is one of the few plants that has a white berry. This is Symphyocarpus rivulalis, or snowberry. Easy plant to grow, usually in the shade. Garrya elliptica, these 12 inches of silk tassels. There's also one called Eve Case that has 4-inch tassels. This is an easy plant to grow. You can espalier it. You can put it in a hot area. You can put it in dry shade. It'll work there. Get about 8 feet tall usually. So when we talk about sustainability, it is all about the plants. It's not a fad. Healthy plants begin with healthy soil. Proper irrigation lends to sustainability. Proper pruning. Learn about your plant, and you will you'll have a sustainable landscape that'll use significant less water, and it'll be beautiful. I mean, these pictures that I've showed you prove that. These are all areas that were at one time lawns. Any questions out there? Concerns, problems, issues? Don't everybody shout at once.
Yes, actually, there is a question here. Could you recommend a beginner book on landscape design?
Oh, well, the Bart O'Brien book has a lot of suggestions about landscape design. It's worth it to engage the services of someone who knows how to work with California natives, because they are somewhat different. And design is, I mean, if you know how to put things together, arrange an interior, you can do design. Do I have a book that will help you with that? Not really. There's no real good book on landscape design, but Bart O'Brien's book, Carol Bornstein's book, that book is excellent. Gives you a lot of suggestions. It gives you a lot of photographs. And come up to Foothill and take a class on design. We offer a number of classes. In 12 weeks, you're going to have a sense of what to do out there. You invest 60 hours of your, no, less than that, 48 hours of your time, and you've got knowledge on how to do some design work. And you'll probably get hooked and take the whole program, which is 2 years, which I'd like to see. So Any other questions?
Yes, someone asked that they're looking for landscape designers and if you had any recommendations.
Yes, go to the APLD website. It's APLD. Just look for Association of Professional Landscape Designers and choose a designer. Their bios are in there. And then interview these people. Do a phone call with them before you bring them out to your house, or bring them out to your house. Most of them do a half hour free, and they're trying to see whether they can work with you, and you try to see whether you can work with them. Ask them. They are really busy right now. They're converting a lot of these lawns over, and so a lot of them are really busy. But get on their calendar and bring them out. So Association of Professional Landscape Designers. The Bay Area chapter has a number of our former students who are now designers, excellent designers, really know what they're doing, know their plant material, know how to set it up with proper irrigation. Can't go wrong. You're going to pay about $120 an hour for them, but I can guarantee you it's way worth it. You're gonna learn from a lot of their mistakes. Any other questions?
Yep. Someone asked, do you offer landscaping services?
I do not. I'm a full-time professor at Foothill College, and I am really busy. I can do some consultation, but I will recommend students who have graduated from our program who are very competent. And I do some. I do some pro bono work, and I usually do it for people that are a little less than well-heeled. Let's put it that way. This is the richest area in the world, and I was a landscape contractor for 38 years before I became a professor. So I made my money.
Okay, and then one more question. Do you put the cardboard directly over the grass?
Absolutely. Lay it right over that grass and water it down. You can get some sod staples to also help hold it down. Those will rust and disappear. And then, of course, get your chip, lay about 6 inches of chip on there, and you're golden.
All right, yeah, I think that's all the questions we had, so I will stop recording here.
All righty. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate